after this meeting ends. Today's presenter is Theodore Mermagos, the director of the Delaware Division of Child Support Services. So on that note, Ted, I'm going to let you get started.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on just a little information about the state of Delaware's Division of Child Support Services. And I specifically mentioned to Caitlin that I wanted to kind of keep this slide up for a few seconds. I wanted to mention that the Division of Child Support Services is relatively a new name for our division. And back in 2015, the Division of Child Support Services was given permission to introduce legislation in the General Assembly here in Dover to change our division's name from the Division of Child Support Enforcement to the Division of Child Support Services. And that was a very important milestone for us. As really, the Child Support Office here in the state of Delaware, even though we are enforcing child support orders, child support court orders, we're really not a law enforcement agency. And we are, as a member of the Delaware Department of Health and Social Services, we consider ourselves more of a service-oriented agency. And it was very important to us to really kind of express that with changing our division's name. So we really, over the last 4 or 5 years, have tried very hard to engage not only custodial parents here in the state of Delaware and quite frankly, custodial parents around the country, but to also let non-custodial parents know that we are here to provide a service to them too, and to really share with them what we do as a child support agency, and to really help them understand child support here in the first state. So, I thought that it was worth mentioning that is, when we talk about customer service, it's really providing a service to both custodial and non-custodial parents. And, in the state of Delaware, we're going to talk a little bit about how we collect child support payments. And one of the other stakeholders or very important community that we deal with a lot that doesn't really get a lot of attention is our employer community. And we could not really do what we do at child support without the help of the employer community here in the state of Delaware. And we are obligated, obviously, to provide them with a quality service to help them understand their role in the child support process. So I wanted to first start off by talking a little bit about the Child Support Agency. And it's our mission at the Division of Child Support Services to provide quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of children and their families. And this is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet financial, medical, and emotional needs to promote family self-sufficiency and the best outcomes for children. And that mission statement as well, we have recently changed. And it's more, our old mission statement, quite frankly, was all business. We do this, and this, and that's how we collect child support from non-custodial parents, and that's how we pay it to custodial parents. And this is a mission statement that is more accurately reflects our willingness and wanting to provide a service that is going to make people self-sufficient. And when we talk about self-sufficiency, I'm going to share some information about how we help non-custodial parents. Those are the individuals who are required to pay child support. I'm going to provide a little bit of information about how we help them become self-sufficient, where they can support themselves and they can pay their child support obligation. I just wanted to make sure that people knew this mission statement, I think, more accurately reflects how we do business as a child support agency, promoting a customer service aspect rather than, we're going to lower the hammer and make people pay and that kind of thing. Also, the child support program here in the state of Delaware, as well as child support agencies around the country, in 2020, we celebrated 45 years of existence. In 1975, as part of the Federal Social Security Act, Title 4D was added to federal law. And that actually created the child support program here, obviously in the state of Delaware, but around the country. And the initial reason why Congress created the child support program as part of the Social Security Act was to actually help states recover temporary assistance to needy family benefits that are paid to custodial parents. So that's TANF benefits. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background about our mission statement and kind of how we became a child support agency. So in the state of Delaware, I wanted to talk a little bit about our case breakdown. So I just kind of threw this in there. The total population, and this is updated as of 2020, for the state of Delaware is 989,948 residents. The Division of Child Support just here in the state of Delaware has 78,623 cases. And in Newcastle, there's 45,204. In Kent County, there's 16,633. And in Sussex County, there's 16,786. So I always like to tell people, when we talk about cases in the state of Delaware, it's a 60-20-20 split. A majority of the cases are up here in Newcastle, and then you have about 20% in both Kent and Sussex County. The city of Wilmington and the size of Newcastle County has something to kind of plays into that. In the state of Delaware, we have 3 child support offices. All 3 of our offices have caseworkers that are actually required to, their role is to process the child support case, and working closely with the Department of Justice and the Family Court. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our role compared to what those other 2 agencies do. But also in Newcastle County, that's where our main offices are located. We're out on Route 273. And in the Newcastle County office, we not only have caseworkers who are actually working on processing these child support cases, but there's also our administrative offices, which house the director's office. It houses our fiscal, our policy unit, and our systems unit, and our customer service unit. I'm going to talk a lot about our customer service unit at the end of this presentation. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about in Newcastle County is that it also houses our accounting unit. And that accounting unit is different than our fiscal unit in the sense that our accounting unit handles the actual entering of the child support court orders into our Delaware child support system. And they also handle child support case audits. So if the custodial parent or the non-custodial parent wants to see an account statement and have an audit of that account statement of every payment that has come in and gone out to the custodial parent, either party can have make a request to have their child support case accounting record audited, and we have a separate accounting unit that would handle that. And our Newcastle County office also has what we call our state disbursement unit. Every state in the country is required to have a state disbursement unit, and that's where all of the child support payments are sent into. So if an employer is making a payment on behalf of one of their employees, they would send it to the state disbursement unit in Newcastle County. If we're getting monies from the IRS, the state's Division of Revenue. So we have one centralized unit, the state disbursement unit, and that's where all of those payments come in to. And then I just want to touch briefly now about our customer service unit. And I want to give out our customer service unit's telephone numbers, and I might do this a couple times. The best way to reach your caseworker is to contact the customer service unit, and the phone number is 302-577-7171. And it's also at the end of this presentation, so there's a place where it's actually shown. And especially now during the pandemic, we're still kind of seeing walk-in customers in all 3 of our offices, but we are asking people to call customer service first before just coming to the office. So we can kind of triage your particular child support situation and really determine whether you need to come in or whether we can help you by having a worker call you, a child support specialist call you to resolve your child support situation. So so that, like in Newcastle County, as I just mentioned, they have a whole bunch of different units, but specifically in Kent and Sussex County. In Kent County, we're located on South Governors Avenue, maybe about a quarter mile south of Kent General Hospital. And in Sussex County, we're located at the Professional Office Park, right across from the Walmart. And specifically in Kent and Sussex County, there are caseworkers who will, similar to what's up in Newcastle, will work to actually process the child support case and make sure that we're getting child support payments for custodial parents. So, but primarily, they're just caseworkers down in Kent and Sussex County. And similar to Newcastle, but we have a bigger office in Newcastle that makes up the administrative offices for child support. So the next slide talks a little bit about how a non-custodial parent can make a child support payment to the Division of Child Support Services. And I want to start by saying in every court order that comes out of the family court, our address to where a non-custodial parent can mail a payment is listed on every court order that comes out of the family court. And one of the things that the courts will tell non-custodial parents, and I want to reiterate here, is until you see the child support payment coming out of your paycheck, it is important that you mail those payments to the Division of Child Support directly, and you mail it to that address that's on the court order. The Division of Child Support Services here in the state of Delaware, we accept payments in these 4 different ways. The first is by check or money order. So anybody can mail a check or money order to the Division of Child Support Services. You make the check or money order out to the Division of Child Support Services. And in the memo section, it's always important that you put your name and your either your social security number or your child support case number. At the Newcastle County office, we have a drop box that's available outside the building. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's only in Newcastle. In Kent and Sussex counties, they will accept payments for only if it's a custodial parent dropping off a child support application, or if a non-custodial parent has been ordered to pay a purge payment so that they can avoid being incarcerated by the court, or a non-custodial parent wants to get their license back, they can actually go to any 3 offices and someone there can take that payment from them. But those are the only payments we accept down in Kent and Sussex County. Everything else has to be mailed up to Newcastle, or obviously somebody could drive up to Newcastle and put the payment in the drop box. So I just wanted to make sure people were clear that it's only in Newcastle that we have that drop box, and in Kent and Sussex, we take limited payments. We absolutely do not accept any cash payments whatsoever. So, people come to our child support offices with, with a wad of cash, and we have to turn them away and ask them to go get a money order or go to one of those banks close by. We ask them to go to a bank and get a certified check or money order, something along those lines. We do not accept cash payments at the child support office. The next way is by income of order withholding order. So in about 99.9% of the court orders that come out of family court, they will order that an order of income withholding be sent to the non-custodial parent's employer. And that's why I was saying, until that time that wage withholding is actually in the hands of the employer, set up in their payroll system, it's so important that non-custodial parent make the payment on their own. But we collect about 75% of our child support here in the state of Delaware by wage withholding from an employer. So it's so important, like I said, that we keep that stakeholder community in tune with what's happening as far as the child support office is concerned. Last year, the Division of Child Support here in the state of Delaware collected almost $98 million in child support. It was about $97 million, $800,000 in child support. So we were very happy with that number, but we're always trying to do better and trying to increase that number. But like I said, 75% of those payments come from an employer who's making a deduction to a non-custodial parent's paycheck and sending those payments to the child support office. They're supposed to send that payment on or before the day that the non-custodial parent gets paid. They're supposed to send it to our office. The third way is through a website. And this is some relatively new technology, but it works fantastic. It's called iPay Online. And we're including the website here. Any information that I talk about today about how clients can get in touch with us, or a non-custodial parent can find out about how to make a payment, or any information that someone wants to, like, hey, I want to find out what my next step is, go to our website. Our website, it can be found through de.gov, Division of Child Support Services. We're under Department of Health and Social Services. But iPay Online is a secure website where a non-custodial parent, employers go to that website and they can make an electronic payment to the child support office by using a bank account, credit union account, a credit card, a debit card. You can make a one-time payment, or you can set it up to make reoccurring payments every 2 weeks, every month. And that payment is automatically deducted from your bank account or checking account and credit union account and sent directly to the Division of Child Support Services. It is really a 21st century way of making child support payments. And, we encourage people, if you don't want to send, you don't want to send a check in, you don't want to have to pay for a stamp, go to iPay Online and you can make that payment electronically. And there's no lost checks, there's no ripped checks or destroyed checks or anything like that. It's all electronic. So it's really a really good system. And then the fourth way is through touch pay kiosks. So at the probation offices and all of the DMVs in the state of Delaware, there's these touch pay kiosks. And a non-custodial parent can go to that kiosk and make a payment. And that payment is then transferred to the Division of Child Support electronically. They get a receipt for that payment right from that touch pay kiosk as proof that they made that payment. There is a small convenience fee associated with making that payment, but it's something, sometimes when we talk to non-custodial parents and they're under a crunch, or the courts have ordered that they make a payment within a certain amount of time. Sometimes the courts will say, you're to leave the court, go to the DMV and make a payment and bring that receipt back to me. So it's really convenient to have those kiosks available for people to make payments. So, okay.
And I'm just sorry.
Okay.
We had a question in chat. Somebody was wondering if these payment methods are similar across all states, and is Delaware the only state that doesn't accept cash payments, or are there others that do?
Yep, that's a very good question. And I'm often talking with child support directors around the country, and I can tell you that a lot of states around the country, their child support agencies have gotten away from those cash payments, only because there is such a liability over handling cash and making sure that everything's reconciling. I can tell you this though, there are more and more state agencies that are going electronic. Electronic fund transfers is the way of payments being transferred between child support agencies and employers and stuff like that. The one thing I'll add before we go on to the next slide is, the state of Delaware and many other states are already doing this. We are currently working on a process with it's kind of sound kind of silly because you don't really see many of these anymore, but 7-Elevens, these check cashing places where you can go in and and you can make a payment there, and they'll send us the payment electronically. So we are continuing to explore other ways. And it just occurred to me too. We are also looking at PayPal, Venmo, and all these other types of payment apps. And we will be over the next, I say next 6 months to a year, actively working with, we're already in discussions with PayPal and Venmo to start receiving child support payments through those apps. So I'm hoping within the next 6 months that will be up and running. So on the flip side, about how we first talked about how non-custodial parents and employers can make payments, I wanted to take a few seconds to talk a little bit about how the Child Support Agency sends payments to custodial parents. Now, I'm going to leave the check part to the side for right now. Back in 2007, the state of Delaware passed legislation, and the governor at the time signed that legislation that mandated that any client of the Division of Child Support Services had to sign up for either direct deposit or to sign up for the division's Visa banking card. And so we have an arrangement with US Bank, and we will issue a custodial parent a debit card that can be used just like a bank's debit card, except for it can only be used when there's money obviously loaded on it from the Child Support Agency. So we issue the Relia card to our custodial parents for them to receive child support payments. And the other option is the custodial parent can sign up for direct deposit. And we will send money that comes in from the non-custodial parent to their bank or to their credit union, and just directly deposit it into their bank account. And obviously, electronic is more efficient and more timely, and you're not waiting to get a check. But back in the day, we would issue as a child support agency about 650,000 child support checks in a year. Since going electronic, that's obviously saved a lot of money to the state of Delaware, because we don't have to purchase that much check stock, and there's some other savings associated with going electronic. We only issue about 5,000 child support checks in a year now, and individuals who get those checks are mostly individuals who are unbankable. They can't get a bank account or don't have a social security number, and we can't issue a U.S. bank account, Relia card to them, or individuals who maybe have an arrears only case, and that's when the current support obligation has been revoked because the child maybe is emancipated, and they just have an arrears, and maybe they get 1 or 2 checks a year, maybe from a tax intercept or something along those lines. So we don't require them to enroll in the direct deposit program or get a Relia card, but it's not the norm. The norm is you're a client of ours, you have to sign up for one of those 2 electronic features. And really, the story I always like to tell is, when Hurricane Katrina hit the state of Louisiana, so the child support agency down there was able to continue. They were already sending payments electronically, and they were able to continue to process child support checks and process those payments out to custodial parents, because they were sending them to bank accounts or to a Visa card or a debit MasterCard. So electronic is definitely an improvement for the child support agencies around the country. So I always like to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the division of, obviously the Division of Child Support Services, but I also like to mention a little bit about the Department of Justice and the family court. Oftentimes, things that happen at the family court are maybe confused with the Division of Child Support Services and vice versa. So I always like to just give a short listing and talk a little bit about some of the things that we do at the Child Support Agency, and then what our relationship with the Department of Justice is and the family court. So On this particular slide, at the Division of Child Support Services, if someone wants to get child support, they can come to the child support office and file an application for services. There is a one-time $25 application fee for us to provide a service to a custodial parent. But that $25 really does cover a lot of things. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The other way that we get a case at the Division of Child Support Services is when a custodial parent receives temporary assistance to needy families or Medicaid from my sister agency, the Division of Social Services. So if they go to the Division of Social Services and they get TANF or they get Medicaid, the Division of Child Support Services is automatically going to get a referral to open a child support case. And we will start that case and process the case for child support, as well as to make sure medical is provided to the child. But if someone doesn't go to DSS, they can come to us, fill out the application, and we will start a case for them. Like I said, the $25 is a one-time fee for the life of the case. In that first column that's in red, we do all of these services. So I'm just going to run through them real quick. The first thing that talks about registration of a foreign order. So that is really when the parties may have lived in another state and then have moved to Delaware, or one of the parties has moved to Delaware. And we can work with that other state. All of us child support agencies around the country, we work together. So when one party is living in another state, we can ask them to create a case for us and on behalf of our custodial parent, or they could ask Delaware to create a case on behalf of their custodial parent because the non-custodial parent lives here. There are some situations where we are actually enforcing court orders from other countries. So although Delaware has very few of those cases, other states have quite a few more than that. So we do deal with registering foreign orders from other states in the state of Delaware so that we can help an out-of-state custodial parent handle their particular situation. We also do parent locate. So we have information coming from federal, state, and local agencies just automatically coming into the child support system, updating, running matches against dates of birth, names, social security numbers. So we do a lot of locating of custodial parents, non-custodial parents in the state of Delaware and around the country. We establish paternity, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on a couple slides coming up. We also generate new support petitions for child support, and we modify child support orders by filing a modification petition with the family court. The child support specialist will attend mediation at the family court. There are mediation hearings, and the courts obviously, want to try to mediate. If the parties can come together and successfully mediate a child support order using the child support calculation, that's the best situation and best scenario for everybody. But as you probably suspect, there's times where the parties cannot come to an agreement, and the case is then referred to a family court commissioner, and that's when the Department of Justice will send an attorney to handle those child support cases before that commissioner. But at mediation, we will have a child support specialist there who will talk to both parents, telling them what the child support mediation process is all about, what we're doing there as a child support agency, and help them maneuver through that child support mediation session. We have a customer service unit at child support in the state of Delaware. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And that, like I said earlier, that customer service number is 302-577-7171, and you can talk to a child support specialist about your particular child support situation. I already talked a lot about our state disbursement unit, so I'm going to kind of just go over that a little bit. And then these other, the next list of little items here are actually our enforcement tools. So at the state of Delaware, we are required to establish child support orders with the help of the family court and the Department of Justice. And then we are required to enforce those orders. So if the courts say the non-custodial parent's going to pay $100 a month, we are required to make sure that non-custodial parent is paying that $100 a month. If they're not paying it, we have ways to help them get into compliance. We can work with the child support lien network to file a lien if someone's going to get a lump sum payment due to a personal injury lawsuit or a workers' compensation claim. We can report to consumer credit reporting agencies that someone is not paying their child support orders and it winds up on their credit report. Like I mentioned earlier, we issue thousands of wage withholdings, orders of income withholding to employers every year. We suspend licenses at the DMV, at DNREC, hunting and fishing licenses, professional regulations if someone wants a professional license. And we also suspend business licenses at the Division of Revenue. And I'm going to talk a lot more about the license suspension program. We do lottery intercepts. We can deny somebody a passport. And we intercept state and tax refunds. So if you're a non-custodial parent and you file your taxes and you're going to get a refund and you owe child support, we can intercept those refunds to pay off your child support arrears. We have a way of working with the unemployment office to get child support payments, and we do video lottery intercepts at our casinos here in the state of Delaware. So that's just a little bit about what we do at the child support office. The Department of Justice, and they're in that center column, they are technically the child support agency's attorneys. And they help us by signing our petitions and for child support or modification. They help us file motions with the family court. They provide legal advice to us as a child support agency. They help us by filing those petitions with the family court. They handle those cases at commissioners' hearings, and they help us prosecute sometimes criminally non-custodial parents who fail to meet their child support obligation. There is a statute in the Delaware Code that does allow us to criminally prosecute somebody for non-payment of child support. We do it very few times. In my 25 years at the child support office, I can only think of one or two times we've done that. We treat it as a civil matter. Child support in the state of Delaware is a civil matter. And then the family court, they handle all of the child support hearings, whether it's a mediation session or whether it's a commissioner's hearing. They establish the child support orders. In the state of Delaware, the family court is the only entity that creates those child support orders. And they do it using the child support calculation. They can modify orders, obviously. And we're going to talk a little bit about modification on a couple slides down the road here a little bit. And then they can issue a capias, which is a civil bench warrant, if someone fails to show for a hearing. And then obviously they can incarcerate someone for failure to pay their child support. Okay, Caitlin.
We also have another question. What jurisdictional requirements may alter an out-of-state child support order and any other financial obligation of the non-custodial parent?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. What jurisdictional requirements may alter an out-of-state child support order and any other financial obligations of the non-custodial parent?
Right. So in the state of Delaware, if both parties reside here in the state of Delaware, that automatically gives us jurisdiction over this particular child support situation. There are particular situations where the non-custodial parent may reside in another state, and the custodial parent resides here in the state of Delaware, and we can use what we call the Longarm Process to obtain jurisdiction over a non-custodial parent who lives out of the state of Delaware. There are several key points that have to be accomplished before we can obtain that long-arm status. And one of the questions we always ask a custodial parent is, where was that child conceived? If the child was conceived in the state of Delaware, we can, and we always try to attempt first, using the long arm statute to obtain a jurisdiction over that non-custodial parent. And then the last way is, and I kind of touched on it a little bit before, is if the parties may have lived out of state at one time and the non-custodial parent moves to the state of Delaware, the other state will try to continue to enforce that court order from their jurisdiction while that non-custodial parent is in the state of Delaware. It's only when that other state is no longer able to enforce the court order that they may ask Delaware to assist in that process. We would register that order in the state of Delaware for enforcement, and we would then go ahead and obtain jurisdiction and continue to enforce that court order. But that doesn't happen. Service of the non-custodial parent would have to take place. We have to give them due process to know that the case is being moved to Delaware. So there is a lot of stuff that has to happen before we can obtain that jurisdiction. But it can be done, and it is done quite often. So the next couple slides are really going to talk about some the more frequently asked questions that we get. So I'm going to run through these maybe kind of quickly, but we'll touch base on a lot of these. So the overarching question is, who must pay child support? So obviously both parents are required and responsible for supporting a child. So if the parents aren't living together, either parent may ask the court to get a child support order. But the law is going to apply to parents who obviously were married and then have split up, or parents who were never married but have a child in common. Both parents are obviously required to support that child. And I often tell people, we personally at the Child Support Office, we like it when the parties can work together. And if they're not going to be together, we certainly want families to be unified, to work together without having to get the child support agency involved. But there is obviously times where they can't, and they need somebody to intervene, and that's where we come in. So, what happens if the man says he's not the biological father of the child? Like I said earlier, the family court will not create a child support order unless they, like I mentioned, personally serve the non-custodial parent to make him aware or her aware that the child support agency is starting a child support case. But they cannot create a child support order in the state of Delaware unless paternity is established. The child support agency can schedule for genetic testing to take place. And the family court can schedule with a certified lab that paternity testing actually be ordered and actually take place to determine biologically who the biological parents are of the children involved. The next question is, do we have to go to a mediation conference to get child support? Yes, a mediation conference is always the first step. The only difference to that is that there was a previous domestic violence situation. The courts will schedule that case directly for a commissioner's hearing and bypass mediation. But we always want to try to resolve the child support order at family court, at mediation, to get the parties to sit down with a mediator, with the child support staff, and really try to determine what that child support obligation is going to be. The thing about mediation is it's mediation. You don't have to agree. If you think that the courts are not taking into effect some aspect that is important to establish that child support order, it can be not agreed to at mediation, and a commissioner can get involved, and they will then go ahead and hear the case and resolve the child support situation. How is the child support amount set? So in court, they use the Delaware child support formula. It's also known as the Melson formula. And the easiest way to really kind of describe the child support calculation is the parties will, and this is something I always tell especially non-custodial parents when I'm meeting with them, but it's important for everybody, is if you get a notice from the family court that you need to appear, A, show up. Don't miss that appointment because you don't want the family court issuing a bench warrant for your arrest. And they will issue a civil bench warrant. The other thing that notice says is to bring financial information with you. Bring 3 pay stubs, bring a tax return, bring anything that you have that shows what you do and how much you make on a regular basis. And what I always tell people is if you don't bring that financial information, sometimes people think I'm not going to bring it, so then that hearing can't go forward or they'll have to reschedule it. That's not how it works. The courts have, the best way I could describe it is like they have this big book that they flip through, and they say, what do you do for a living? I'm a construction worker. And, they flip through this book and they say construction workers in the state of Delaware make X amount of dollars. And that's what we're going to attribute your income to be. So it's so important. If you're making $10 an hour, you want the courts to know you're making $10 an hour because you don't want them to attribute your income at something higher than it actually is. So it's important to always show up for hearings and show up if you get a letter from the child support office. Don't disregard it. We at the child support office want to work with non-custodial parents and custodial parents. So if we're scheduling you to come to the child support office, we would rather you come to us and let us work with you to resolve your child support issues. So can the child support payment amount change? So yes, the courts and the child support office, we like to review the existing court order every 2.5 years. So if your order is over 2.5 years, we would automatically like to take a look at it. Now, if either parent has a substantial change in their financial situation, and there's some examples listed here, things that I could think about is if people sometimes lose their job and they get a new job where they're not making as much. That is a reason for a modification of a child support order. So if you're a non-custodial parent and you lose your employment, you can go to family court, and there's a pro se office in each of the county courts. And someone is there that can give you the paperwork to file a modification of your child support order. We at the child support office don't want people paying an obligation that they can't afford. All that does is create a higher arrears balance. Sometimes people get frustrated because they just get buried by the debt. So if you have a substantial change in your financial circumstances, you need to contact the court to file for a modification. If you're a custodial parent, you can certainly contact the child support office and we will help you with that modification process. Will a wage attachment be ordered? I've already kind of talked about this a little bit. In practically every case that comes out of family court, a wage withholding will be ordered and sent to an employer if one exists. Anytime a non-custodial parent changes employment, they should contact the child support office and we will issue a new wage attachment to that employer. It doesn't cost anything for us to do it. We will do it for you. And like I said earlier, make those payments until you see it coming out of your paycheck. Continuing with the wage attachment. So employers, they're obligated to follow those wage attachments. Sometimes, and this happens rarely, so I don't want people to get excited about this. Employers sometimes willfully do not honor wage attachments. It happens. If that happens, we need to know about it, and we will work with that employer to get them on board to start making those payments. There are some very rare situations where we have taken an employer to court, but we don't like to do that. And it hasn't happened in probably 10 years. But we would like to work with employers to get them on board to start sending in those wage payments. And I already talked about if you change a job, notify us and we'll get a new wage attachment to that new employer. Can the money from a wage attachment be paid directly to the parent? So if the courts issue a wage attachment to that employer, they are going to direct that those payments be sent to the Division of Child Support Services. Even if we're not involved in the case, the courts may say to the parties, like sometimes the parties are going into court on a divorce situation, and child support is incorporated into their divorce decree. The courts may say, we're going to have these payments sent for child support to the child support office, and the sole purpose of that is to keep an accounting record. So practically in every court order that comes out of the family court here in the state of Delaware, they are going to say that payments be sent to the child support office to keep that accounting record, to get those audits when they need them. We also send account records to the family court so the courts can see how well is the non-custodial parent paying, how much is the custodial parent getting, and we keep that accounting record for them. If the parent who pays support is not allowed visitation, must he or she continue to pay support? So I understand this law series had a discussion about custody, visitation, divorce, those issues. And I think I did actually hear on a previous episode of the series, and it is actually true. Child support is different than custody. It's different than visitation. It's separate. We handle child support separately. So I always tell non-custodial parents, look, if she's not letting you see the child, or he's not letting you see the child, and you have a child support order, you have to continue to make those payments. Don't stop paying child support. It's so important that you continue to make those payments and deal with the visitation issue and deal with the custody issues separately at the family court, but don't stop making those payments. So modifying a court order. I already talked a little bit about, if you have a substantial change in your financial circumstances, if your life circumstances have changed and you think you need a modification of the existing court order, contact child support and we'll help you do that, or we'll get you in the right direction if you're a non-custodial parent. The one thing I wanted to talk about on this slide is up until February of 2019, if you were incarcerated, the courts would say that's not a reason to be granted a modification of your existing child support order. That has changed. So I always try to talk to the incarcerated that if you're incarcerated, you need to file a modification of your child support order, because that now does qualify at the court to modifying your existing child support order. And there's people within the prison systems here in Delaware that can help you do that. Child support is working on a new process with the incarcerated, and I can't wait. I'm really excited to unveil what we're planning on doing to help the incarcerated in Delaware modify their child support orders. And we are hoping to work with the Department of Corrections employees to help the incarcerated do that. So but the thing is if you're an incarcerated individual, you could file to modify your child support order, and we are encouraging you to do that. The family court, like I mentioned earlier, they handle all domestic relation matter, divorce, custody, visitation, child support, spousal support, property division. And the phone numbers at the bottom of this slide are the numbers for the family court in each of the counties. So establishing paternity. This is so important to the child support program. I cannot go without mentioning paternity establishment here in the state of Delaware. As the child support agency in Delaware, we are required to establish paternity for children born in Delaware. So there are 3 ways to do that. The first is by marriage. If the parties are married when the child is born, paternity is automatically established for that child. Now, there are some rare occasions, and I always like to mention this, where the new mom may be married to somebody else and is having a child from a boyfriend or another acquaintance. There is a process to disestablish paternity against that married party. Sometimes we have the husband who is not yet divorced lives halfway across the country, and technically under Delaware law, he could be considered the biological parent of that child that's not his. But we have a process in the state of Delaware to disestablish paternity against that married party and go after the true biological parent. But That's the first way. Through marriage, paternity is automatically established for a child. The second way is the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program that we have in the state of Delaware's child support offices, and we work with the Office of Vital Statistics at the Division of Public Health. There is a form that both parents can sign and have notarized, and we will notarize it at the child support agencies for free. I believe Vital Statistics will notarize it for free. And it basically says, I know I'm the biological mother. I'm going to sign this voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form. And the biological dad says, I know I'm the biological father of this child. I'm going to sign this form and have it notarized. They file it with the Office of Vital Statistics, and both parents' names will be added to that birth certificate, and paternity is automatically established for that child. Now, the key part of that is it's voluntary. So we encourage people, if you don't believe you are the biological parent of that child, do not sign the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form. If somebody is pressuring you to sign that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form, do not sign it. And we will help you get genetic testing. And that's the third way that we establish paternity for children born in the state of Delaware who are born out of wedlock. So, like I mentioned earlier, the courts can order that paternity be established through a court order by sending people to our lab, and DNA is actually taken from the inner cheek with a swab, and it's sent to a lab, and those results are then returned to the court and to the child support agency, and we then notify the parents whether they are or are not deemed the biological parents. So 99.99% is the number. And if it doesn't come back at 99.9, then the lab will say this person is not the biological parent, and we will notify that person. At the child support agency, I want to make sure custodial parents know this. We will test as many people as necessary to determine who the biological parent is of that child. So we don't ever want a custodial parent to be embarrassed to come to us to help them establish paternity. It is so important for that child that paternity be established so they know who their biological parents are. And, there's always talk about, medical needs that may come upon that child, and knowing what the medical conditions of their parents. Social security benefits are important. You have to know who the biological parents are. So there's just a whole slew of reasons why it's so important to establish paternity. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the the suspension license program at child support, because we get a lot of traffic in our child support agencies and phone about license suspension. So I'm going to run through this really quick. I know our time is coming short. So, in the state of Delaware, we can suspend someone's driver's license, business license, professional license, or hunting and fishing license if there is a family court capias, or they are delinquent in their child support 60 days and they have an arrears balance of $3,500. Before we will suspend their license, we will send them a notice. And that's why I mentioned earlier, if you get a notice from us, don't ignore it. Contact us. You have a right to an administrative hearing, or you can come to us and we will help you get your license back by either A, telling you to turn yourself in on that family court capias, or B, you can make a lump sum payment of your child support worth 2 months, and we will go ahead and give you your license back. But if you come to us before that 20 days expires, we can give you your license back without you having to go to the DMV or going to the professional regs and paying any fees that they may have. Because to get your license reinstated by the DMV, I think it's $50. So if you get to us before that 20 days expires, you can avoid paying those fees at the DMV. And I want to make sure people know this. That 2-month lump sum payment, we will work with you. If you can't afford to pay 2 months, or you've got a new job and you can give us information to send a wage withholding, we will go ahead and give you your license back. But we need to have a dialogue with you in order to do that. I wanted to talk quickly about our Fatherhood Initiative. We have a Fatherhood Initiative that's two parts. The first is what I call our Fatherhood the first is the Delaware Fatherhood Program. The second is the Incarceration, Supervision, and Resource Unit. So the Delaware Fatherhood Program focuses on employment and training programs in the state of Delaware that we can refer people to help them find employment opportunities. The Incarceration and Supervision Resource Unit is a unit that we have that goes into level 4 facility, correctional centers here in the state of Delaware, and talk to those who are incarcerated about their support obligation. And the next slide talks a little bit about, the Fatherhood Program, what our Fatherhood Program does. This is that employment services-based program. And it specifically deals with working with unemployed or underemployed non-custodial parents or custodial parents. And don't let the terminology fatherhood sway you. You know, we work with custodial and non-custodial parents. We work with men, we work with women. If you want to find better employment opportunities, you can call the child support office and ask to be referred to the Fatherhood Program. We can help people, find employment opportunities. This is what I was talking about earlier, that will help support them as well as help them pay their child support order. And that's what we're looking to do, help people become self-sufficient. We can help people get high school diplomas. We can help people get GEDs. And we want to work, we would like to work with people who are released from incarceration or the prison system. And of course, we want to help people who have a child support case. The people who don't have a child support case, we can certainly help you find some resources to help you with employment and training opportunities. So this next slide just talks a little bit about the benefits of the Fatherhood Program, and we can go on to the next slide. So I wanted to talk about our website. On our State of Delaware Child Support website, there's information about two customer-facing websites at the Child Support Program. The first is our online application website, and that is for new customers. If they want to become a client of ours, they can fill an application out online at home and submit it to us electronically, and we will then go ahead and process a child support case for them. But the second website, the customer website, I think is the most important piece of interaction that I can share with people. That we have a way that people can have certain access to their child support case by actually signing up for our customer website. And this will give them access to apply for the services online, like I mentioned. They can receive notices from us, the child support agency, electronically. They can actually write their caseworker in a quasi email system. They can update their contact and employment information, and they can view appointments with the child support office and with the family court. And this thing I like the best is they can print a child support account statement from home. So if they go to our website and there's information about how to enroll in the customer website, on our website, and they can have access to all those different pieces of information. It's a little bit cumbersome to sign up, but once you've created that username and password, you can have access to pieces of your child support case anytime you want, and you can actually communicate with your worker online. And then this is just some information about our customer service unit. I've talked about it a couple times today. Our customer service unit is available from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. We have bilingual employees in all 3 counties. And we have a bilingual Spanish-speaking telephone line in our customer service unit. There's 20 child support specialists available between 8 and 4 to answer your child support questions. And then we have what we call our automated assistance line. And that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a bilingual option for that also. If you have a child support case number, you can automatically get various pieces of your child support case information, like did a payment come in, when the last payment was sent to you, automated through your telephone. And then I included 3 telephone numbers. Those are for each county for our customer service unit. The one thing I always like to mention sometimes we hear that people are on hold for like an hour. If you're ever on hold for our customer service unit, please don't be on hold for an hour. Hang up. You should not be on hold for longer than 20 minutes. I would give it 25, but if you're on for longer than 25 minutes, please hang up and call back. We have people monitoring the phone systems, and we can see when the calls are backing up or people are on hold for a long period of time, and we can add people to the customer service unit, increase it to 30 child support specialists. And so if you're on hold longer than 20 minutes, 25 minutes, please hang up and call back. There's definitely something going on that's a problem. And then these are just some resources, our child support website. We have a Facebook page. We have tons and tons and tons of good information on our Facebook page. If you're looking for employment, go to our Facebook page. We are posting 3, 4, sometimes 5 new job postings to our Facebook page every day. There are jobs in the state of Delaware, and we're actively trying to help people find those jobs. And then there's information about the family courts website, and then our Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement. That's their website there. And then I wanted to also just talk a little bit about, we do at the Child Support Office, the first Monday of every month, I do a 1-hour Facebook Live event called the Child Support Connection. It's from 11:30 to 12:30, the first Monday of every month. So I'm always encouraging people to tune in. I answer your questions live on Facebook. And we do get a pretty good turnout. And I just want to encourage people to tune in, and you can ask me a question or two, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions. And I always have a bunch of child support employees also watching the Facebook Live, and they're helping me answer questions too. So, everybody usually gets their questions answered, and we can actually do some research on your case if we can't answer it right then and there. And then I also always like to talk about in Sussex County, I'm the third Wednesday of every month. I'm on the radio with Jake Smith on 92.7 WGMD from 10 to 11. That's the third Wednesday of every month. And we take questions from the public. Jake and I love hearing from callers in Sussex County. And I'm always trying to help promote the WGMD app. If you have a smartphone, I encourage everybody to download their app. It works great. I'm up here in Kent County, and I use their app periodically to listen to various subjects. So their app works very well. And I'm always encouraging people to call in with questions. I want to answer your questions live on the radio. And that leads us, and Caitlin, I hope we have enough time. If there's some questions, I'd be more than happy to stay on and answer any questions that people have.
Of course, it's time. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop the recording. So what people can do is they can ask their questions verbally. So if